So in Tuesday's video, we discussed allowing thoughts of disharmony to be. And by that I mean not identifying with them, thus not forming inharmonious beliefs. And we also discussed allowing emotions to be and not associating thoughts of disharmony to them, thus not forming inharmonious beliefs around them. All of this accomplished through performing the simple and powerful 7-day mental diet by Emmett Fox, the way I described in that video. I'll link in the description to it. The mental diet also, as mentioned, purifies the mind from any inauthentic beliefs. Now, mind purification can be even more effortless by being in flow state, as the ancients always pointed to simplicity in all things. Thus, by experiencing a steady release of anandamide all day long, the mental diet becomes effortless. So while performing the 7-day mental diet, which to me is a way of life and not so much a diet, you'll find it easier if you maintain your flow throughout the day. And there are different degrees and types of flow. It can range from a mellow flow to a peak flow, where one is in the zone, for example, let's say when one's playing a sport or during creative expression. Anytime you are within the range of a flow state, you experience what I call lateral being, a lighthearted way of being, fluidity of mind, and you may even notice the magic happening, synchronicities, everything happening ideally automatically, things appearing to go your way, opportunities appearing unexpectedly. You may meet interesting people, your relationships are harmonious, and you enjoy life, all by being in your flow, which this magical way of being is your natural way of being. And part of the reason why we experience life appearing this way while in a state of flow is certain neurotransmitters are released and released in an ideal ratio, which includes dopamine, which improves attention. And this is great, as we always say. Your attention goes in the direction that reveals what you have been subconsciously believing. Here we are being intentional about it. As you engage with a consciously chosen activity, you enjoy and are perhaps learning and growing, thus enjoying the experience. That wonderful experience and self-talk related to that experience is where your attention is going, further impressing upon your subconscious mind to cue up to manifest more of their likeness. Norepinephrine is also released, which results in focus and attention during flow without unnecessary stress. Serotonin, which also helps with mood regulation, contributes to a sense of well-being and contentment, happiness and satisfaction. Endorphins are also released, which are nature's painkillers and mood enhancers. They also contribute to a sense of euphoria. And in social experiences that involve flow state, oxytocin is released, facilitating ideal collaboration and teamwork. And as mentioned, the bliss molecule, anandamide, is also released while in flow state. It elevates mood and facilitates lateral being, which is key for an effortless mental diet and effortless mind purification, which also facilitates a wonderful, harmonious relationship between the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. So why I call it lateral being is because we have what is called divergent, convergent, and lateral thinking. Divergence is the ability to know of many possibilities or solutions for a challenge in a short amount of time. This is where perhaps unexpected connections are drawn. Convergence is where we come up with a single, well-established solution to a challenge or puzzle, or whatever we want. So, while in flow, rather than being identified with beliefs of dichotomous thinking, which is black and white thinking, both divergent and convergent thinking is harmonized during the experience as what I call lateral being, or we can call it harmonious being, which is your natural way of being. Now, dichotomous thinking, which is the result of identification to dichotomous beliefs, does not represent the natural state of mind. Mind is naturally fluid and dynamic. So, dichotomous thinking, which is also known as all or nothing thinking, is the tendency to unnecessarily relate to situations, events, or ideas in extreme, polarizing ways that are not helpful. Through dichotomous thinking, things are often viewed as either extremely one way or extremely the other, with little or no room for middle ground or variation in between. Here we may also find an absence of appreciation for nuance as a result of identification to a belief of one way or another, where one finds it extremely challenging to witness the nuances or appreciate the complexities of circumstance in a way that facilitates the simple resolution to the circumstance that is actually helpful for them. Because they are only experiencing from one radical perspective or a seeming opposite of another, which is often truly a sliding scale between the two, they might not consider the nuanced variation, which can be the simple, effective solution. As a result, they don't allow themselves to see the perfect order within the seeming chaos. For example, in consulting, if a business says to me that they have implemented everything to increase how many prospects choose to commit to their service during their presentations, I know what they're really saying. It's that they have maybe tried all the things that they're currently aware of, and perhaps even forgotten or may have not included some areas they once thought of in their attempts. Which then I share some stories of where I once thought I tried everything. And I discovered by adjusting my packaging or offering payment plans or financing, offering a trial, providing some incentives, re-engaging the prospects in different ways at appropriate times, and some other things like that I tried and worked. They start to put two and two together and get into a flow. Of course, I'm in my flow prior and during the interaction, as this is an experience of state transference. We can then explore their business in a harmonious way. I may also flowchart their process with them and pull up some notes I've taken on the various optimizations I've done in my businesses or working with other clients that worked, and we discover the next steps that are best for them. This happens easily when a person is in their flow, thus not identified with beliefs of one way or another of there only existing a few options, which is another effect of dichotomous thinking. One only allows themselves to see limited perspectives if they subconsciously believe the world to work in absolutes. And this is a result of identification to rigid beliefs. Dichotomous thinking thus arises from rigid beliefs identified with. Now, one self that transcends all of this, which is one with all, is beyond beliefs. So being in flow releases the belief identification to allow the ideal way to arise in mind. So committing to and remaining in your flow, making flow a priority, takes care of this. By that I mean, being in a flow state purifies the mind of dichotomous thinking-based beliefs that result in a person subconsciously manifesting dichotomous thinking in relation to experiences, overthinking as a result. We're not interested here in overthinking, rather an accurate amount of thinking, as the rest we leave up to the unseen power of the subconscious mind to take care of. So in summary thus far, by being in flow, dichotomous thinking ceases, as the mind is purified from the beliefs that result in it. And I've worked with many who have changed how and what they experience in life to be what they desire, all through the simple commitment of making flow a priority. So flow state is an ideal state of mind, a natural way of being in relation to the different areas of your life: professional, arts, hobbies, relationships, etc., from which you easily allow the infinite power of your subconscious mind to take care of everything for you. See, one can go through life not experiencing life fully. And by that I mean not physically present and engaging with what they are doing, simply going through the motions or an extreme derealization. Or they can take it to the other extreme and become heavily identified with beliefs, not allowing things to flow naturally. Flow is a natural, harmonious way of being that integrates into the experience of now, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually harmoniously. And I've experienced both sides, overly identified with the material in a force-based way, and on the other side, meaninglessness. And I choose, recommend, and teach flow for a harmonious life, speaking from personal experience. See, in 2017, I was in Playa del Carmen, Mexico, and I was well into my business consulting practice. I had a lot automated and I wasn't really doing much. Yet it gave me a moment to reflect deeply on the next phase of my life. So I asked myself a series of questions. When was I the happiest, growth-oriented, fun, and joyful to be around, while also enjoying life in a holistic way, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually? And the answer arose from the still small voice while I was in flow state. So I said, what if I make flow a priority in my life? I was doing it now and then, and it was helpful. But what if I dedicated my life as much as I possibly could to be experienced from a state of flow? What would happen? Well, here we are in 2024, and flow is still a priority. And over the course, I rearranged my entire life, end to end, to make it all about the flow and continue to do so each day to experience joy wherever, even in areas where I once did not experience joy before. Now let's talk about how we can relate this all together, which is to apply the Emmett Fox mental diet, which again is to simply observe your thoughts and let the inharmonious ones be, which is automatically facilitated. As a matter of fact, you'll notice less of these thoughts or them no longer appearing in mind while you are in your flow. As while you are in your flow, you experience lateral being, also facilitated by the bliss molecule, Anandamide, which again is derived from the Sanskrit word Ananda, which means bliss. So any initiative you do during the day, morning routine, tasks at work, leisurely time, can be done from a state of flow. Let's run through an example by applying the flow process from Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's book, Flow. Let's apply this to communication. First, we have a clear vision. So our vision here is to actualize ideal communication skills and enjoy the experience both at the same time while in a state of flow, applying the 7-day mental diet automatically. And you'll see it becomes automatic when we engage physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually with whatever we are involved with from a state of flow. Then we have immediate reporting and feedback. Now, when one is communicating with another person, there may be a lot of aspects that they feel inspired to manifest. There was a wonderful book I read a while back called The Charisma Myth by Olivia Fox Cabane. And in there, she summarized charisma into 3 key aspects, which when I read it, over the years, I applied them, and they contributed to manifesting ideal communication experiences with others tremendously. They were power, presence, and warmth. Power means direction, having a sense of direction without force. Then there's presence, which means being present during the conversation and not allowing your attention to drift on what is not relevant, both in the environment and also thoughts of past and future unnecessarily. Then there's warmth, which is being caring, understanding, compassionate, and supportive. Now, there are many nuances to manifest in relation to power, presence, and warmth in communication. For the sake of our example, we are applying this as a guide for immediate reporting and feedback, being aware lightheartedly of what we are thinking, what we are emotionally relating to, and what we are communicating or not communicating, and adjusting with ease, real time accordingly. And as you continue with the conversation, feel yourself entering into the flow state. Ease into the flow. You may mentally release into it. As you proceed, allow your body to relax during the conversation. And the conversation may feel a little uneasy for a minute. That's completely normal. In order to access the flow state, we release psychological control, surrendering into the state. And then we have harmony between challenge and skill. So again, we can use our guide, power, presence, and warmth. If someone says something and it challenges you, it's fine. Let it be and respond mindfully, maintaining your presence and warmth. And at this point, You'll be in the flow. You may notice that you experience the neurotransmitter anandamide being released. As you get used to being aware of the point you enter into flow state, by practicing this with everything you do, you'll notice precisely when it kicks in. You'll feel it at times quite profoundly, depending on your degree of flow. It feels blissful. So it's literally the bliss molecule you are experiencing. And so remember that and make it a study of yourself, of all the ways you can bring yourself into this state and ideally rearrange your entire life, or to the best as you'd like, to make it a priority. Here we're also in alpha brainwave state, and thus feel what I'm referring to as lateral being, harmony between divergent and convergent thinking, as you fall deeper in love with what you're doing. Now you're deeper into the flow, and actions and awareness become one. The conversation is flowing, and you find you automatically manifest the ideal ratio of power, presence, and warmth. And in relation to the mental diet, you'll notice that you're doing it without even trying to do it. Now, if anything arises during your moments of flow that we can call flow restrictors, where you believe an appearance is restricting your flow, consider that nothing that appears can truly restrict your flow, as flow is your natural way of being. It is only a subconscious belief in mind in relation to what appears outside that restricts your flow. If you no longer identify with the flow restrictor belief, the appearance changes in some shape or form to reflect as a flow enhancer. This is the art of mental transmutation, as taught by the ancient alchemists. So I trust you found this video to be helpful. Let's conclude this with an auto-suggestion to further encourage. You could say, flow is my natural way of being. The flow is where I experience everything I desire in a flow-based, harmonious way with all that appears. As I continue to abide in and as the flow, all in harmony and contribution with my flow appear to affirm the flow in a mutually beneficial way. If you would like a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk with you soon. Take care.